Hello, everybody. It's Mary Lynn Harris here of Hard at Work, and welcome back to another episode of Creating an Impactful Legacy. As you know, you can read about it in the video transcript. But in the meantime, I have Nicole Robertson with me today, and we're going to talk about what she does and how she helps people and how she serves people. So, Nicole, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's get right into it. So how did you get into doing what you're doing now? And maybe you can explore a little bit more what you're doing as well.
Sure, no, I'd be happy to do that. So, I am the founder of an online clothing swap for women and kids called Swap Society. And I came to create this business because there's a really big problem of fashion waste, but
Mhm.
also of pollution created by the fashion industry, um, inhumane labor conditions. There are just It's just a very problematic industry.
Mhm.
And for me personally, I didn't want to be a part of that system anymore. And so I had started swapping in my local community. And it was just such a great way to mix up my wardrobe. I love fashion. I love wearing new things.
Right.
I didn't want to feel guilty about I guess you could say I'm a former shopping addict, but
You're a clothes horse.
I, I once had a friend say that I gave away more clothes than she owned. I mean, I have a history of loving fashion and loving using fashion as a way to express myself.
Mhm.
And so, but I thought, oh, well, but I don't want to be buying all of these new clothes all the time if it's harming the earth
Mhm.
or, harming other people or subjugating other people. And so I started swapping and I loved it. I didn't really ever like selling my clothes,
Mhm.
going to those resale places where they hardly accept anything and they give you, $5 for something you spent, a few $100s for, and you
Right.
leave feeling really unstylish and pressed. It was just never a positive experience. And
Yeah.
donating things to thrift shops isn't really a great solution either, because less than 20% of what gets donated to charity shops ever gets resold. And
Wow.
so I started swapping and I really loved it. And then I thought, well, what if I could expand this experience to more people? I get the sense that swap parties and swap events are definitely on the rise, and those sorts of things are happening more and more frequently. However, it's not something that is always available, right? So I wanted to create something that was available 24/7 so that women could get their fix, whether their size changed or they need something, they have a new career or they have an event or whatever it might be, that
Mhm.
there was always a way for them to swap and they wouldn't have to try to wait and hold out for another swap party at a friend's house or something.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of it.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking too, like you were saying, when you change careers, you have to change what you wear, right? And so,
Yeah.
if you want to go for an evening out, oh my gosh, like, do I want to spend $200 or $300 on a dress? You may be able to do that, but do you really want to do that? Kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. And single-use clothing is really an abomination. I mean, the more I learn about the fashion industry,
Mm-hmm.
we really and also just climate change. I mean, the apparel industry has a distinct connection to the climate crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a growing movement of people that are boycotting fashion,
Right.
not buying new clothes. Sometimes people do it for a month, or they'll do it for 3
Mm-hmm.
months. There are different
Mm-hmm.
challenges out there. There's an organization out there right now that's a part of Extinction Rebellion, and they're calling it XR Boycott Fashion, and they're trying to get people to boycott fashion for a whole year
Oh,
uh,
okay.
with the hashtag XR52, and just to really draw some attention to the fact that what we wear really has a connection to the global climate crisis. I think most people think about solar panels and
Yeah.
not driving a gas guzzling car and getting an EV, and those are all important things to think about as well in terms of our personal consumption, flying less, eating less meat, but fashion plays a role as well.
Mm-hmm.
The fashion industry puts more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere than all international flights and maritime shipping combined,
Wow.
which is a lot. And it's also the number 2 water polluter after agriculture. So, for example, the dyeing process is very polluting to our waterways.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, I had mentioned the waste issue. And this is a statistic that always really blows my mind. I share this often. So if you've heard me talk before, you've probably heard this. But every second, a garbage truck of textiles is landfilled or incinerated.
Wow.
And most of that is wearable clothing.
Yeah.
So we're buying more and more clothes than ever before than in the history of the world, and we're wearing those clothes for half as long as we did 15 years ago, even.
Right.
So I think that, for me, I'm super on board with the people who are saying buy less, choose well, create a capsule wardrobe, only buy high quality garments, and plan on having those things in your wardrobe for years or decades, and mend your clothes and take better care of them. And I completely believe in that. At the same time, I really do like mixing up my wardrobe. My style has changed a lot over the years. My lifestyle has changed a lot. My size has changed a lot. I mean, I've had 2 children and I've gained 50 pounds with each pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I was a lot of sizes on the way up to that and on the way down. And, so I think that it was important to me to create something that would allow wardrobe fluctuations too, and also just the freedom to have fun with fashion. And I try not to bog people down too much with all of the statistics and keep it fun and interesting. But I think it's important for people to just slow their consumption. So we always say swap before you shop. We say try to think about swapping or shopping secondhand before you go out and buy something new. I think people are always going to buy new things, right? I don't think it's realistic to expect everyone in the world to stop shopping altogether. But I think if we can collectively slow down a bit and embrace slow fashion and kind of be that antithesis to the fast fashion model that's taken over, I think that, we can have a really good result from that.
Right. I totally hear what you're saying about swapping and buying secondhand and stuff like that. But, yeah, so it's just like I went to some meeting and these gals were saying, let's go switch to a vegan diet. And I'm like, what? Maybe, and when you stop to think about it, how often do you just eat vegan anyway, So I don't know. It's like you were saying, it's like you can't ask people to totally give up their clothes or the fashion designer, but you can certainly cut back. And maybe you only have one piece from the fashion designer rather than 10, right? And then
Exactly. Well, or that you just get it secondhand or you swap it. There's so many ways to shop secondhand. If you don't like thrift stores, there's so many options online now, Swap Society included. And to your point about going vegan, even if people ate one vegan meal a week or one vegan meal a day, it can have a really tremendous impact on our environment. And Susie Amos Cameron actually has something going on right now called OMD for the planet, where like standing for one meal a day, saying like try to eat one vegan meal a day. It's good for your health. It's good for the earth. And I think that that's something that people can do. It's achievable, right? I don't think that saying, oh, everybody immediately just completely overhaul every aspect of your life right now. I don't think that's realistic. People won't do that, right? But you can say, hey, eat a little less meat. There's also that Meatless Mondays campaign, fly less often. Take more travel, travel more locally, or there's just so many little things that collectively we can do to make an impact.
But I really want to talk about your clothes swapping thing, because I think that's really important, especially for even people that are employees or employers who want to help their staff and be conscious about the climate. Have you ever thought about taking your idea into workplaces where there's lots of employees and
I
do
love that idea. I think that's a
do
great
a
idea.
swap, clothes swap?
Yeah, we do occasional events. Most of them have been public events, but we actually did a private event last year at Pepperdine University, which was really successful, where there were a lot of students that came together to do a swap. I think that doing workplace swaps is a great idea, especially for bigger companies that want to provide more fun experiences. One thing that's really unique about what we do and how we're different from other options that are out there is we have a point system. It was really important to us to make it a really fair swap. If you go to a swap party, usually it's 1-to-1. You show up, you bring 5 things, they give you 5 tokens or tickets or whatever, and then you pick out your items, and you leave with the same amount of items that you came with. But as I'm sure you're aware, there's so much variety in the value of a garment. If you get something from a fast fashion store versus something that's more high-end, and luxury brand designer type of clothes, we wanted people to feel comfortable sending in their nicer garments and feeling like they were really getting good value out. And so we do our point system online, but we also do our points at our events as well. So if we have an event and somebody doesn't see a bunch of items that they really fall in love with that are their size or whatever's available at that moment, they can always use their points on our site later. So that's something that makes our events really fun. But I love that idea. I think a workplace swap would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants to do that, hit me up. We'll organize it.
Okay. And so whereabouts is your shop or your swapping, is it only online, or where are you located, or where do you do it?
We're only online. We're based in Los Angeles. And as we grow, I would envision us having some regional warehouses to help with shipping from both a cost and an environmental standpoint. And also just regionally, what people wear in New York is different on average than what people wear in LA and that sort of thing. Most of our members are in California. We're based here in California. And so we're fine with that at the moment. But yeah, we'd love to eventually kind of expand where we are. And perhaps we would have more of a brick and mortar presence at some point as well. I wouldn't rule that out. But we are an online platform. And we serve the United States only. So we're available to anyone in the US.
Right. Yeah, because I think in our earlier call, that I Get to Know You call, that I think you mentioned that you kind of got started because this woman was doing it and she closed it.
Yeah. So when I said I was swapping in my local community, it was actually a little brick and mortar shop that I found by Googling clothing swap Los Angeles, because I really I thought, wouldn't swapping be better than trying to sell my stuff? And it was so great. And I swapped for years with this little group, but the woman who was doing it, decided to close it down, and I was very sad about it. So sad about it that I created Swap Society. But I thought, okay, well, how could this be bigger? How could this be scalable? How can this reach more people and have a bigger impact? So that's what I'm doing.
What spawned you to start Swap Society.
It did. It inspired me. Yeah. I spent most of my career in the beauty industry. And my passion for the environment led me to work for a bioplastics manufacturer for a few years. I took a massive career shift and went into kind of this unknown territory, but I was really excited to dive into something that was, a greener alternative to traditional plastics. And that was really a really interesting experience. I'm glad I did that. But my passion often lies with things like many people that I think are fun, right? So I think fashion is fun, and I think it's a way to connect with people. I think that everybody can relate to this idea that what we wear is part of how we show up in the world and is part of our experience on this earth. And I love how you talk about an impactful legacy. I think that what kind of world are we leaving for the future, and what are the areas that we really can make simple changes
Yeah.
without feeling necessarily like we're completely,
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
overhauling
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
aspect of our life.
Yeah. Overwhelmed, and so overwhelmed that we just freeze, and therefore we don't do it.
Yeah, it's
That
perfection
happens all the time
paralysis.
too, right?
Yeah.
You know?
We actually we talk about that a lot on our social media and just try to be encouraging and uplifting, and we have a post, I think it went up yesterday, where it says, be imperfectly vegan, be imperfectly zero waste, be
Yeah.
imperfectly sustainable. Just make some steps in that direction.
Yeah.
Make progress.
Right.
Move forward, make some changes. And I think that we live in a world, especially with social media, right, where it's so easy to criticize people if they're not perfect, or to call, I think there's a lot of, oh, they're a hypocrite. They say this, but they do that. And I think that, and for me as well, I'm not perfectly zero waste.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% vegan. I
Yeah.
do eat a lot of vegan meals.
Yeah.
And just being gentler with ourselves, and more great, giving ourselves grace, but also giving others grace, and
Right.
and giving others the space to make changes without expecting them to be perfect at it.
Right. Right. I think that's a good point, because so often, we all judge, and we just have to acknowledge that we judge, and just pull back and say, okay, am I that critical towards somebody else? Because really, you're saying you're that critical towards yourself, right? Because I just kind of believe that inner stuff, that whatever we think, that's what kind of comes out sometimes. So anyway, but I really like what you're doing, because I can see lots of opportunities in the workplace, because it's another activity to make it fun, interesting, and yet they get great value, and they get an education as well about the environment. You don't have to bring up the climate change. You just say, like, this is what happens when we don't do this, or we're in this, what do you call it, a waste ecology. So, I just think it's a great opportunity for education, and still get some great value out of it. It's sort of like doing a coaching with a group of people and teaching them how to swap their clothes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you're saying, giving them a fun activity to participate in.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I think it's definitely worth pursuing that path, and yeah, and inspiring, trying to inspire people to make even small changes. There's a statistic that that I think is really kind of a feel-good statistic, right? We all want to feel good about what we're doing, but swapping a shirt with a friend instead of buying a new one saves enough drinking water for one person for 2.5 years.
Wow. That's astounding.
So it's like, okay, you don't want to swap everything or swap all the time. How about start with one thing?
Yeah.
That has an impact, or buy one thing secondhand. It has an impact.
Yeah. It's just, it's sort of like, it's always the little things that make the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that, this little thing that you're suggesting that people do will grab hold, and they'll say, yeah, I can do that. I can do that one thing.
Yeah, for sure. And we try to make it really, really easy. So we take care of the shipping. We, when people sign up, we send them a welcome kit, which is basically a bag with a prepaid mailing label. They fill it up with clothes. They can drop it off at their local post office or leave it out front for their letter carrier. So we just want it to be really, really easy. We go through all of the clothes. We list them on the site. We photograph them. We handle all of the ordering. We're just trying to make it really, really easy and fun and user-friendly. And then when people place orders, we send them their shipment with another label and a reusable bag, so they can just kind of keep swapping things back and forth. And we have a fun, really great group of women. And but we're always welcoming new people. So, and if anyone ever has any questions about how it works, I'm also available.
How does it work? So do you sell a membership, or?
Yeah. So memberships range from $15 to $25 a month. So it's a very small fee, which basically goes toward the shipping.
Right.
If we didn't charge a membership fee, we wouldn't be able to do the shipping both ways.
Right.
And then everything ordered from our site costs points plus $3.99. So instead of having markups like traditional retail or even resale, because the currency on the site is the points, we have to charge a little bit of something.
Yeah.
So it's basically a service fee for every item ordered off the site. And that way we're able to have ultimate flexibility for our members. Most of our members are ordering 5 to 7 things a month on average. But we have some members that order 30 or more items a month that are just, they love clothes, whatever their lifestyle is. They love having new stuff and wearing new things. Some people in the entertainment industry in particular, where maybe they have auditions or just are on camera a lot, or going to events a lot, those type of people tend to be, a little bit heavier with the swapping, but also just some people that really like to wear new clothes all the time.
Right.
And so with that being the case, we didn't want to say, okay, here's a membership fee and you can swap 4 things a month or 8 things a month, and that's how a lot of the rental systems out there work. But we didn't want to restrict people. We really wanted people to be able to do all of their shopping with swapping if they wanted to do that. Right. And so that's what we're doing. And also I think rental, it's interesting. Rental models seem to be popping up all over, and I think it's really interesting. But I have 2 issues with it. One is how expensive it is. I think that the average person can't afford those designer rental services. And so what about everybody else? What should they do? Right. Also, they're still pushing newly manufactured clothes, right? In order for those types of models to work, they're really focused on new clothing. So they're still part of that constantly manufacture new things. Granted, they're making sure that those clothes are worn more frequently, which is an improvement over somebody buying something new, wearing it twice, and then throwing it away. But I'm really a big believer in trying to wear as much clothing as we possibly can. Supposedly we have at least 40 years worth of clothing on the planet already.
Wow.
If we didn't so I think it's just kind of hard to fathom these numbers, right? But the bottom line is the more secondhand clothes we wear, the better.
The better. Yeah. I totally get it. Yeah, because sometimes, you take your clothes to a secondhand shop and they'll say, look, I had a beautiful jacket, but I don't wear it anymore. So I just took it to secondhand and they just said, oh, well, it's a vintage. We'd never sell it. And I'm like, okay, but I'm sure there's somebody that would like to have it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why too. So we, a lot of the online resale shops even are, restrict you to certain brands, certain tiers of brands. They won't take fast fashion, but that's what the majority of people are buying. We accept all brands, even clothes that have the tags cut out. It just changes the point value of the garment. So there are a lot of different things that we look at when our team lists a garment. There are certain data points that they enter about it, and we use a computer algorithm to generate the point value. So it's not arbitrary. It's not, people saying, I'm going to give this 10 points. It's really based on the brand and the season and the condition. The condition is a really big one. And then, that's where we go from there. But we never say, oh, we're not going to take that brand, or, oh, that's vintage, we're not going to take that. Actually, we love when we get vintage. We think, vintage pieces are really fun. We take it all because, but as long as it's really, really, really good condition. So I just want to be clear that, we're not accepting things that have stains or big tears or, but if something has a minor imperfection, at our discretion, we will accept it. If we think it's just super wearable, but maybe has a small imperfection, we'll mark it as such. But then it gets a massive point reduction, on the garment as well.
What happens to the clothes that are you can't use, or they've sent you and you can't even really sell them or swap them?
Sure, great and very important question. I'll start by saying that we don't throw anything in the trash. Um, there are two main routes that we go for dealing with the clothes that we don't accept. One is we work with Downtown Women's Center and donate to them. They're helping homeless women here in Los Angeles. Homelessness is a big problem here. And there are a lot of homeless women here that, maybe we get a sweater that has too much pilling on it, but it's still a warm, wearable, functional sweater. We don't give them anything that's really gross, but nobody's sending us anything that's really gross, honestly. I mean, our members are, I think the imperfections in things that we receive, they just don't even see the imperfection. They don't even know that it's there. We're really examining everything, right? So things that are casual and functional and warm, practical types of things, so long as they're in good enough shape, we will donate. And we also work with some local fashion designers who will upcycle the fabric and turn, let's say it's a silk blouse with underarm stains. We're not going to give that to a homeless woman. That doesn't make any sense. That's not practical. So we work with some designers who will cut away the fabric and then turn it into a new garment. And even the big magazines out there are writing articles about how the future of fashion is upcycled fashion. I mean, there's definitely a growing movement in this direction where designers are looking to work with this type of fabric. And as we grow, I'm sure we'll need to expand who we're working with and finding more avenues for that. But it is our goal to not throw anything into a landfill. We work really hard to avoid that.
Right. Well, I love talking to you, and maybe we can do an update in a few months and see where you're at, see how much you've expanded.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to.
So anyway, is there any final words you'd like to say, Nicole, before we say
Well, just thanks so much for including me and having me be a part of this conversation. I love what you're creating. I think that, the more people that do think about what kind of legacy they're leaving to the world, I think that that's such an inspiring way to think about our lives as individuals and how we're living. So thank you for creating this space and thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us again today. And you'll be posted. I'm going to really work on posting every Monday. So every Monday there'll be a new speaker. So what I'll be doing is, letting you know when you're up and start promoting you at that point in time. Anyway, Thank you for joining us, everyone. And we'll be chatting with you soon. And if you need any information about Nicole, you can go to podcast.heartatworkonline.org. So thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.